All right, guys. Today we're doing a podcast with Aaron Witt with Build Witt. My name is Blake Tincher. I'm the Vice President of Civil Mesh Pro in Houston, Texas. And today we got Luke Williams with us. He's the president. And then Aaron, you want to give us a little introduction about yourself?
I run an operation called Witt. We have a training and development software, Witt Improve, a annual leadership event called the Area Dirt World Summit. And then I run around the world visiting different construction mining operations, sharing it all online, which is an absolute blast.
We love to see it. See it on LinkedIn every day.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had a good time at the summit this past year. It was incredible.
Good.
We're looking forward to going back.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, happy to have you guys, and yeah, it's really come together. So I couldn't be happier.
That's impressive.
I'd like to say, like, man, Build Witt has always been like Aaron Witt, Build Witt, whatever, you call yourself. I've always liked your way of telling stories, the way that you craft your posting and stuff. It's just good, authentic storytelling. And, I've done a lot of the modeling of my vision as far as like how we, want to present Civil Mesh's media and stuff off of yours. You're not the only one, but you're like one of my role models as far as the media goes. And, we've messaged a couple times and, you give me some good advice as far as like marketing, media marketing and things like that. And so I appreciate your content and I love the content itself, not just the style of it, but, the authenticity of what you put out on there on the social medias and stuff. And so just wanted to put that out there. But how did you, what did you do growing up? Like, how did you get into filming mining operations? And, tell us how you got to where you're at today.
I really appreciate that. No, my dad was a lawyer. I didn't grow up blue collar at all. I stumbled into the construction industry at 18. There was a construction project that I thought was just the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my neighborhood. And I called the company, asked for a job, and they started me as a laborer. And that was that. I was like, all right, this is my cup of tea now to just figure out my way in this world. The owner of that company, he told me to go to engineering school. So that's what I did, got an engineering degree. He told me to go work for as many companies as I could to go try a bunch of stuff out. That's exactly what I did. And then I went to work after working at 5 different companies during school. I went to work in road building in Texas, and I was going to go be a road contractor and save up, finance a backhoe, and have at it.
Yeah.
But at that point, I started to, like most everybody, I had a bunch of photos and videos on my phone from the cool stuff I'd seen in my short time in the industry. And I started sharing it on Instagram and it started to really grow. So I started a media company, not really knowing what that was or what I would do at the time. It was me and a camera taking pictures on any job site I could get access to, which was like 3 at the time. There wasn't all that much access, but have just been chipping away since. So it's been a gradual process, even like what you were saying with storytelling. I mean, I didn't start out a good storyteller. I didn't start out a good photographer. I didn't start out a good talker. It's just after doing it for now almost a decade, every day, you get better and better and better. It's a skill just like anything else. And now, I mean, we've gone from having almost no access to now, like in 2 weeks, I go up to the Arctic Circle to a diamond mine. And
Wow.
The places we get to go now are just extraordinary.
That's cool. And so how long you been doing this?
I started sharing on social media in 2017.
2017.
Yeah, I started in construction in 2013.
Nice. That's about when I started Civil Mesh. I started in 2018. Civil Mesh Pro was started in 2018. I did a little, stuff on the side before I actually like built the company and stuff. But I guess we'll talk a little bit about how we got into this. And I'm second generation dirt guy. So, I grew up in the dirt world. My dad was a mass excavation contractor and he had worked for Williams Brothers. He was a highway contractor and he started doing that in the 80s. And before that, he worked for a company named Kenneth and Helms. You see a lot of this, but we really don't see this anymore in, the Houston area. But back then, that's when twin engine scrapers were the way of moving dirt. That was before, agricultural tractors came in, pan scrapers and stuff. And so he'd tell me stories all the time. Like, man, these tractors nowadays, man, they ain't worth a crap compared to them twin engine scrapers. You put a dozer behind that thing, man, you can cut a foot at a time type thing. So I heard those stories growing up. And then, he ran a maintainer working at Williams Brothers, and and then he went and started he helped a guy named Mike Williams start Double Oak 1994, which when I was born. And so that's the company that I got to, be next to my dad growing up. And so growing up, I'd go to the jobs on Saturdays and stuff, and make like dirt bike tracks. Or at first he would make the dirt bike tracks for me, but every time, he'd go to a new job, we'd have some sort of activities there for us to do on Saturdays, because I would always be begging him like, Dad, I want to go to work on Saturday. And sometimes he'd be like, no, I'm too busy. But sometimes I'd get to go out there, ride dirt bikes and stuff, and just growing up on the jobs. And then I started, running machines. I think I first got on a hoe when I was like 8 or 10, and taught me how to dig a hole and stuff like that. And so did that growing up. But 15 is when I first, started actually working, getting paid by the company on the payroll and stuff. And that's when I first got introduced to, GPS. Back then it was like, they called it was TopCon. It was a little FC 250 data collector. And man, the screen on that thing was like tiny. And the thing was as big as the data collectors that we have nowadays. And so when I first got that, I looked at that and I was like, man, that's what I want to do. Like, I couldn't even barely see the line work. It was so pixelated and stuff. And so I was checking grade for an excavator. And that's when I first got introduced to that. So I was 15. And then, fast forward, I kept doing what I was doing. And then when I got out of high school, worked for him full time. And that's when I got introduced to machine control, but the machine control wasn't even working right. So it was really just an indicate only system. And like right around the time that they came out and they automated the machine, like they didn't automate, it was already automated, it just wasn't working, but they fixed it. And that's when GeoShack came out. And I was like, man, I want to do that. I want to automate machines. And so I called the guy, they actually, guy, Justin Dahl. I don't know if you know Justin Dahl, right? From TalkOn. I see. I mean, he knows you. Everybody knows you. But
Yeah.
anyways, Justin Dahl came out and he fixed the machine, and he's like, yeah, we're actually hiring. And I was like, man, let me try to get in. And so I called and I got in after interviewing and stuff, and worked there for 2 years. And then, I miss dirt work. Like, it's in my blood. Like, I love it. I grew up doing it. And so I had to get back to doing some form of, building. And so I went and worked at a road paving company, kind of like what you said you were going to do. So I went and worked actually at a Buyer Construction, and, got all their GPS going, applied it. They had 2 sets. They had 10 crews at the time, but they had 2 sets they weren't using. And so I, implemented the sets and got them using it, started building models for them and stuff. And we took those 2 sets and ended up buying, sets for, when I say sets, I'm talking about base rover, machine control sets, and then some millimeter GPS sets for maintainers, and took it and applied it to the whole company. And after I saw the way that the generation, because there was an, older generation guys doing everything old school. And after I saw everything applied to them, I was like, man, I could do this for the whole town. Like that was right around the town. That was 2015, 2016 ish. And so that's really when GPS was becoming like almost mandatory, because, there was a phase of it where it was popular and then it was like mandatory. And like nowadays we see it's almost mandatory for, almost all the projects that you're participating in, as far as like Houston goes, like any sort of grading, like you're meeting grades. I mean, you can't really compete without machine control. And so that's how I got into what I'm doing. And then I grew up with Blake, so he got a little bit of that on the side. You can talk a little bit about, your perspective from all that. And
Yeah. So we grew up, I don't know, maybe 50 houses away down the street, whatever you want to call it, 3 years old. So we've seen life together. We both seen each other kind of grow and do things. And I remember right about when we turned 21, getting our careers established, and we're trying to find out what we want to do in life. I'd go over to Luke's apartment. It was, man, check this out. Check this model out. He'd have plans open. And to me, that was just gibberish. I didn't know what I was looking at. And he's talking about models, and I'm expecting something else. And he shows me this CAD drawing, and I'm like, is that what it's called? Like, is there no other name for it? And I'm used to just CAD. So, and he's showing me models. It was all model talk every time we used to hang out. And we kind of split ways. I went out and worked in the oil field, and he continued on the journey, creating civil mesh. But it was real passionate about it, right after high school, finding out what we want to do. And I really didn't expect anything else. That's what he grew up doing. That's what he knows. And he took something that he was real sharp at and made a great company out of it. So we go back 30 years.
Yeah. There was a little part too. Like, you remember in my backyard, I remember what we would recreate job sites in my backyard with like little die cast models and stuff. And we'd be back there, playing job site, dirt work, in the dirt. And so I don't know, 20 years ago, 25, whatever that was. We're 31 now. So
yeah, I really had no experience in this. I mean, I did oil field, I worked in power plants, I did some real estate stuff, and I was tired of traveling. I was rebuilding gas turbines and generators and steam turbines, and I was like, man, I'm done traveling. I'd be in a new state every week. So I just happened to reach out to Luke and was like, hey man, you got anything going on? Like, here's what I'm at. Here's where I need to be, and we made it work. I came in as would it be just like a model
technician,
Came
CAD
in,
tech.
learned how to build models, got really good at it really quick, and ended up hiring 1 or 2 people under me and just moving up from there. And now I think at the time when I was hired, you probably had 3 or 4 employees, maybe.
When I hired you,
Mm-hmm.
well, COVID came and I didn't have any more people after COVID. So there was a time where like all the work shut down in Houston and I was down to like one guy. Like, I had one guy, and that's Mondo. He's our field manager now, but I had just hired Mondo, and it was just getting to the point to where, work's picking up again. And, I actually had work, because there's a couple months where I barely had anything. Like, I'd say 75% of the job shut down in Houston, and that was 2020. And that was around the time that my dad got diagnosed with cancer too. So it was like a blessing in disguise that the work dipped, because I got to be there with my dad, as he was dying. But after all that passed, that's when you called.
Yeah, it was 21, August of 2021.
Yeah, whenever that was. And that's when, man, we've been up since.
And now we got 10 employees, looking to hire another 1 or 2 by the end of the year. So good growth over here.
Yeah.
And let's jump right into it.
So, and we want to talk about like some problems. Let's each talk about one of the big problems that we see in the industry. But I guess you go first, since we've been running our mouth for the last 10 minutes.
It's all good, man. Your podcast. The problem that I'm fixated upon, our company's fixated upon, the industry is talking about nonstop as people. I don't think it's a matter of money right now. I don't think it's a matter of machines, technology, knowledge of how to build things, desire to build things. I think it's the lid on the industry right now is workforce, and the industry's been running a certain play, and that's worked, that's got us here, but it's clearly not getting us any further, or else we wouldn't have the problems we do, or else people wouldn't be sitting around scratching their heads. So that's what I'm dedicated to, is spending time on job sites, figuring out what the next generation needs, what the next generation of leaders need, and then helping the industry get there. Because this isn't a nice to have world. If this world goes away, people will notice. Like, you turn the water off, you turn the power off, you turn roads off, life stops, society stops. There is no United States of America anymore. There is no future for my future children, their children, etc. So this isn't something that we just can't not figure out. We have to figure it out. And I'm trying to build a whole business around it.
So how do you think, what do you think that problem, like the catalyst of that problem is? Because, I've heard people like Elon Musk saying that we have a population problem, in this country. Do you think it's like a population problem, or do you think it's like a lack of a desire to, do that trade?
It's a bunch of stuff. I think anybody saying it's one thing is totally misguided. I wouldn't listen to them. There's a population component where at a certain point in time, we're going to have more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 18 for the first time in U.S. history. So it's certainly demographic related. The United States, our birth rate is below what it takes to replace the population and grow the population currently. We're only growing because of immigration. So there's that. There's the need for infrastructure, especially in a market like Texas. Post-COVID, you had a huge influx of people into the state, which required more building of all kinds. It's not just roads, it's house pads, it's water infrastructure, wastewater infrastructure, power infrastructure. We did a lot of building post World War II in the 50s and 60s. The design life of infrastructure is 50, 75 years. So we're coming up on the lifespan of a lot of key infrastructure that needs to be replaced. And then, yeah, you have a lot more career opportunities nowadays than you had with our parents' generation, the generation before that. And you have a lot of people going to college and doing white collar work. Our entire economy has transitioned. Again, World War II, the economy was driven by building things, by making things, by creating. Whereas now our economy is driven by finance, is driven by real estate. It's not driven at all by making things, which is to me scary, and it's gonna have to change at some point. But you can go down the laundry list of all sorts of different factors coming together to present the problem that we have in front of us.
And that's interesting to see all those different aspects of the shortage too. Another thing is, I think a major component of it is it's just not a popular thing. Like, every time you talk to someone, like you said, it's white collar stuff. Like, what are you going to college for? Like, what are you going to do when you get older? What do you do for a living? It's like engineering or banking or finance or
Marketing.
everything but operating and building. And,
The whole system is geared towards the big companies. It's all driven towards the big companies. And I tell people, though, like at least my household growing up, I use myself as an example all the time because I didn't grow up in the industry. And it wasn't that my parents were saying like, don't go into construction. That's, you're going to end up digging ditches if you don't do well in school. Or it wasn't that kind of conversation. It was just, it wasn't even on the menu. Like you can't order something that's not on the menu. And so I didn't even know it was an option. I didn't even know it was an opportunity, which is why one of the things I speak about is, everybody's like, oh, this perception problem, or, oh, these people just don't understand what it is that we do. And it's like, well, whose job is it to tell them? Like, how much longer are you going to wait? We've been waiting for a very long time. Has it got any better? No, because no one's coming to save us, because it's no one else's job to talk about this world than ours. And all these other industries that we support, the home builders, the retailers, the data centers, technology companies, they don't care at all about our workforce challenge. They don't care. They care about their workforce. That's it. Yeah. So it's not their problem, and they're going to prioritize them, which they should. That's how the world works. We have to prioritize ourselves, and we have to be the voice for ourselves. It's just, until that point, it's absurd to think that a next generation is just going to show up on our doorstep.
Yeah, maybe when you see like on these documentaries and shows and stuff, anytime you see machinery and operating and stuff like that, it's like only like mining. Like you got Gold Rush, and then you got like those timber shows where people are logging and stuff like that. But there's like no reality shows and stuff on like people that are digging detention ponds and building neighborhoods and stuff like that. So maybe if we had more of that, maybe it would drive interest in this. Like you said, it wasn't on the menu. Maybe we need more of that, putting it on the menu for like shows and stuff.
I don't know many of people in the next generation watching shows. They're on YouTube, they're on TikTok, they're on social media. So that's why people have asked me like, so when are you going to do a show? It's like, never. I couldn't want to do a show less, do it according to some network. Like, no, why do that when I can just do it myself? Yeah. Distribute it on YouTube, make ad revenue as a result, and reach more people. Yeah. So like, sure, there's maybe a place from like a traditional media standpoint for telling the story. I'm all about telling the story in 100 different ways, but the way I've always seen is like, I'm going to go where the next generation is. And I think that's one of the core issues, is that you have the previous generation approaching it from their perspective. It's like, you're not the ones we need to recruit. Your perspective is honestly irrelevant, because
it's fading out.
Yeah, you're not the target demographic here. We have to think like the target demographic. And that's why I've always been like, let's just go where that demographic is on YouTube, on their phones, and the more we're there, the better.
Yeah, I think really that's what I meant. As far when I said shows, you are right about that. Shows are kind of like dying out, and everybody has YouTube on demand, and they can go search exactly what they want to watch and stuff like that. But I guess that's really what I was, pointing at, is the fact that, everybody is filming the big operations, like the mining stuff, like all the stuff, you cover. It's all cool stuff. And, it's, man, you post some giant machines, them drag lines and, those super earth movers and the trucks that, can essentially smash a car in a second. And, there's like a whole other side to that I feel like could be captured more, which is that, the residential world,
And I agree. And whenever someone's like, you should do this, I'm like, you should do it. I don't know. Like, I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
And if it's big stuff, yes, sue me. I like big stuff. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
And that's what I find is exciting. But there's a lot of different facets to this world. And again, everybody's like, you should do it. I'm like, you should do it. Like,
Yeah,
why me? Yeah, you go do it. Like, but I'm a little bit of a, like, I'm a little cheeky when I say that, but at the same time, the point is everybody needs to do it. Everybody needs to talk about it. Social media is great. Like, that's a fantastic medium. There's still a lot of contractors out there that are like still warming up to social media. And it's 2026. If you're a contractor that's warming up to social media in 2026, you're like crazy behind at this point. Is just that's just the reality now. But okay, cool. Social media is not for you. That's fine. Are you talking about it within your community? Are you engaged within your community? Are you educating at local schools? Are you involved in the local Christmas parade? Are you engaged at Sunday school, at church? I don't know what it is. And then, all right, all that aside, does your family know what you do? Does your family understand what you do, why you do it, the impact of what you do on the world? Like, that's a great place to start. A lot of people are sitting at the dinner table and their family doesn't even know what the heck they do.
Yeah.
That's an opportunity in itself. There's millions of people in this industry. So there's tens of millions of people just related to the people within this industry. If you just start there, that's an enormous sense of impact.
Yeah, that kind of guides me into my question I've been trying to ask was, you bring a lot of awareness to the industry, obviously to industry leaders or other people within it. Me and Luke and others. How are you bringing awareness to those outside of it? I know you just mentioned a couple avenues and ways, but yourself specifically, how are you reaching those that have no idea about the dirt world?
You can go to any one of our YouTube videos, go scroll through the comments, and there's a bunch of comments saying, I have no idea how I ended up here, but I like whatever I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Every video, I'm just using modern tools, the internet. I mean, we generate safely now over 1 billion views a year, reach tens of millions of people every week, every month. It's extraordinary. So I think just by distributing it, you will naturally reach people outside of the industry because it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, this isn't some niche world. This is a world that everybody depends upon every single day of the week to live, one. And two, it's really cool. It's in the built world. It's modifying the world to the needs of humanity. Like, there's nothing more human and cool than building stuff, than shaping the world around us. We've been doing it since we came out of the caves, so to speak. So I don't worry about attracting people outside of this. I just show people what it is. People are naturally outside of this world gonna be all about it.
Yeah, well, it sounds like we've covered a little bit of the solution, which is awareness, to the problem that you've seen, as far as the workforce,
What's one of the major problems you think we're seeing? I mean, obviously workforce is one of them.
Yeah, workforce, but I think the biggest problem that we see in our world is quantity issues. Like, for example, on these plans that come out, you get a plan set that comes out and they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in engineering and surveying and building grading plans, topographies and stuff like that to have a contractor, which workforce you're saying we have a shortage of, the guys that are actually correcting these jobs and giving the proper quantity back to the engineer and the developers and stuff. Why is it that the quantities are off when we just they just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in that? And we're seeing quantity issues as the biggest problem. Sometimes very large quantities, like hundreds of thousands of yards off. And this stuff is easily fixed. We do it on a daily basis.
But is that a quantity problem or is that a people problem?
The people. I think it's a mixture of a
It's a tech. They're not
application
using
of people.
technology.
Application of people.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
say.
still a people problem.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the big complaints is, yeah, we have these engineers now out of school. They don't even know what they're looking at.
Mhm.
Still the same route though.
Mhm.
Engineering firms are struggling with the same challenge that contractors are.
The
And then the private engineering firms are able to pay a bunch of money to attract the top tier people, leaving the municipalities. Like now the municipalities are screwed, or the county or the DOT even, to keep up with these enormous pay packages that the private engineering firms are able to offer. And then now you need these consulting firms, but the consulting firms aren't any better off. And now you have this owner's rep, but the owner's rep has never been involved in a project this big before. You can, on and on and on it goes. It's still though education, people, communication. Like you're saying, the problems are easily fixed, which they are. Like the math is the math. It shouldn't be that complicated. I think it all still comes back. It still comes back to people. It still comes back to a lack of education, a lack of awareness, a lack of communication. And then when the contractor, when the engineer is wrong, the contractor's like, "Hey, you dumb. Like, how dumb are you?" It's like, well, how that is that going to help the situation? Is that going to get everybody on the same page to try to fight for the common good? No, not necessarily. So you can go down the line. It's all still the same challenges.
Yeah, one of the things that frustrates me is the fact that we can easily fix the problem, and we do fix the problem for a handful of people, but what we're doing is really helping the contractors only. And it's not that, we don't want to help the contractors, but we want to put the power in the hands of like everyone who could use it, continue to help the contractors, helping home builders, helping developers, and helping engineers, like, all those aspects of, the industry, we could help. And, one of the struggles that we have is, like you mentioned, engineers have a workforce problem too. And it's hard to talk to them to actually get them to understand that, we can help them do their jobs better. Let them be the overseer of the project. They are the ones that make sure that the project goes smooth, but there's certain people that specialize in things and they can do them, on a way more efficient level than they can because we do it on a daily basis. Like, for example, models, topos, and takeoffs. That's what Civil Mesh does. And we can build a model wicked fast compared to, an engineering team because they build, I don't know how much projects they have, but let's just, throw some numbers out there. They might do 10 projects, and those aren't modeling projects. There's modeling in those projects, but we're doing, how many models do we do a week?
Minimum 20 to 30 usually.
I mean, that's all we do: models, topos, and takeoffs. And so we specialize in this and we want to help these guys, but we found it hard to get them to use us as a consulting firm, as you've said, to help. We are part of that consulting firm, workforce, and we're finding it hard to actually get in with people to help them do that. But that's why we've recently invested in a marketing team, media team, and like earlier I was saying, I really like your storytelling and stuff like that. So you've been a motivator to me to just start telling stories on what we're doing, and that's what we're doing here. Talking about. I'm glad we've talked about some of these problems and how they correlate with each other. But solutions, solutions are, I think, we both awareness. I mean, for both of us, for both of the problems, both of our solutions are based on awareness.
Awareness is certainly a piece. I think, most of it's like what I'm talking about right now is not big picture stuff. It's pretty simple. It's like you're the solution, you're the problem at the end of the day. And until you work on you, nothing's going to change. So it's similar in my world. Like I've spent the now almost a decade working on this one problem: workforce in the civil construction and mining industries in America, in the dirt world. And I can be right all day long. I could be right. But if I have the wrong approach, no one cares. I'm not going to be effective. And so the initial approach I took for years was just bull in a china shop, basically saying, you guys are wrong, I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you see this? This is so dumb. Like, it's so black and white. How could you not see what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
It wasn't all that effective. Imagine that it didn't work all that well. And so I've had to modify my approach to be much. I've had to become a lot more effective in my my understanding of their side of things, my ability to communicate with them, my knowledge in general, challenging my previously held beliefs. Like, it's not that what we're doing is a mystery. It's that I've had to learn how to bring people along with me, and that's required me to get better, if that makes sense. I don't know if I explained all that
Yeah, I
well.
mean, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I mean, what is your approach now? Because I think our approaches are very similar. Well, as far as what you did, I mean, we kind of did the same thing, and that is not the way to approach an engineer whatsoever. I mean, really, anybody. You don't want to tell anybody, they're wrong first. Kind of like,
Yeah.
I heard you say something about church. Kind of like how Paul. Anytime Paul corrects somebody in the Bible, he always says, "Hey, you're doing this good, but you got this about you. You got to fix." And so, I mean, what is your approach?
Saying that someone's wrong is a great example of what not to do. The best way I can explain it and how I've adjusted my approach is, instead of criticizing the model that's not working or the old model, like, what has got the industry here is not wrong because it's got the industry here,
Yeah.
right? Like, and so saying that it's wrong, it's just insulting in a way, because it's
Yeah.
like, well, what do you know, dude? Like, I was moving dirt before you were born, and I'm here, like, I've done just fine. So, okay, me really resonating with it being wrong, no, it served me okay. So instead of criticizing like the existing model, you create a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. And so instead of talking about all the problems now, I'm more so focused on the contractors that are training and developing their people better than ever, that are seeing incredible results. I'm just talking about them. I'm just focused on them. I'm just focused on the ones that get it.
Yeah.
I'm just pouring into them and putting them up on a pedestal, which then has everybody else looking at them like, wait a minute, they're making more money. They're less stressed. They have less turnover. They have better people. They're winning more projects. That looks a lot better.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it is better. Here's how you can be better too. So that's the adjustment of approach. It's, instead of like, why don't you get this? Training and development is so simple. You should be training and develop. I'm now, and we as a company, we're going all in on those that understand, those that get it, those that are hungry, those that are ready, make them as successful as possible. The rest of the industry is going to have to catch up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like, for example, I think like the first thing that comes to my mind is, I'm playing a game, Call of Duty with Blake one time. I remember playing Call of Duty mobile, and he's like, "Hey, let's play one day." So we're playing, and I thought I was good, and then all of a sudden Blake comes in there, and he's like freaking running around doing all this crazy stuff, and I was like, "Dang!" Like, he didn't tell me that I was bad. I just realized how much more I could improve by just seeing like the model of how on that type of level that you could actually play on, and that's just a minor example, but nobody likes to be told they're wrong. But people watch. Everybody's watching. If you truly want to improve, you're looking at your peers and you're seeing what the best ways that people are doing things, and you're going to look. And so, I mean, I think that is a great approach. I mean, that's the only way to approach it.
Well, that goes
And
back to the post that I saw a couple days ago. Is something like, you never walk on a job and tell someone they're doing something wrong. Ask questions. Why are you doing it this way?
yeah,
You walk into a room and you think you know it all. You're probably the dumbest person in that room.
Yeah.
Ask the questions. Find the solutions and make the new model, just like you're saying.
100%. Yeah, even, I mean, that's how we're running Dirt World, is like, that's why we capped it this year. Everybody's like, do you need to keep it growing? Or are you going to keep it growing? It's like, no, I don't. I don't need to keep it growing. I just need to focus on the 1,250 leaders that get it, pour into them as much as possible. That'll change the industry. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need all that much to actually change things. And it's been a great example. It's been a great lesson for me in sales as well. Like, I've gotten rid of most of the people that haven't bought for 3 years. I'm not calling them this year to get their Dirt World tickets. I'm only calling people that have already been, and it's worked. We're nearly sold out within 2 months versus 12 months before not even getting sold out. So I'm not even focused on those that, and if they want to get it, if they want to come on board, that's great. Come on.
Mhm.
I'm happy to have everybody, but if you don't get it, I'm not here to convince you because I'm not going to convince you. You have to be ready for it. You have to be bought in on your own before I'm going to be able to help you. I'm just going to pour into those that are already there, that are already hungry, that are already getting after it, and again, make them as successful as possible.
I mean, that's biblical. You know, I'm not about to call these guys swine, but Jesus says, do not cast your pearl before swine. You know, understand that what you have, if it's good, don't just cast it to everybody that doesn't care about it. And so that's a biblical concept there. But I mean, we don't have a lot of time left, but I just wanted to talk about the future. You know, we've talked about some problems. We've talked a little bit about solutions to this problem, but the future, like, what does the future look like if these problems don't get fixed? And you know, what are some future solutions that that we have upcoming that could potentially fix that workforce issue without directly adding workers, people like, I don't want to say AI, but like, robots and things like that, how could that, affect
Yeah, you,
our
you see a
industry?
lot more outside of our realm of work, Houston and surrounding areas. You're
Yeah.
all over the world. What are you seeing as the future unfolds in front of your eyes? Like, what are you thinking?
Well, if we don't figure this out, it sounds dramatic, but it's true. There's no America. Like, there's no United States of America. It ends at a certain point. Like, to think that the world we live in is just a constant is insane.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't had a hot showers for 100 years. And we have grown up in the most prosperous time ever. And we have been confused into thinking that that is just the constant state of affairs. That whenever I hit the light switch, the lights come on. Whenever I flush the toilet, it flushes. Whenever I need to go somewhere, I can just get in a car and drive somewhere, fuel it up, whatever, get anywhere I need to go, no problems. Maybe an accident, worst case scenario. That's not the constant. That requires a huge amount of effort. It requires a huge amount of inputs to maintain that, let alone grow it and make it any better. So that's what we're playing with, which is why I'm so serious about this, and why I'm being more and more forceful in my messaging, because it's like, I've been here 12 years now. I'm 30. I'm pretty young. People look at me, they're like, whose kid are you? But
Yeah.
I've been here for 12 years. I've been here long enough to know that the conversation has been the exact same since I began. It's been the exact same conversation. And it's like, at what point are we going to get on with it? At what point are we going to do things better, differently? Like, we need to be better. We need to be better to make it a better future for our kids, for their kids. We are benefiting from this great world that previous generations built. Now it's our responsibility to build the world
Mhm.
build the future, right?
That's right. We
But
are the
that,
future.
yes, well, we should be. I think we can be, but again, that's not a given. We have to earn it. And so you can go down the list of, like, solutions. You can talk technology. Technology is a part of it. Is
Mhm.
it the solution? No. Are robots the solution? No. Is AI the solution? No. Is GPS the solution? No. Software? No. I have a software company. It's not the solution.
Mhm.
And if we're ever selling it that way, like, run. That's just not how it
That's a
works.
collection of the things.
It's part of it. It's part of it. I still believe, though, that the solution is in human beings, is in leveraging humans in the best possible way we can. We've had declining productivity in the construction industry for half a century. It's time to get better. And I think those gains, part of it is equipment, part of it's technology, but I think most of it's rooted in people, in building better people, and building better family members, better husbands and wives, better fathers and mothers, better kids, better leaders in general. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but that's the solution. And when I speak to a room full of leaders, it's like, you guys are looking for something outside of this room. That's not it, man. Like, look in the mirror. That's your solution right there. And until you fully accept that, don't expect anything to change. But once you accept it, that's when really cool stuff happens. Like, if it's your fault, it kind of sucks to admit at first, but then it means you can do something about it. So we're not sitting around here helpless. Like, we can do something about this. And I'm not saying that in theory. I'm saying that, like, look at the most successful contractors that I know in this world. that are making the most money, that are attracting the most people, that have the best teams, that have the least amount of stress right now, that are enjoying work the most, they're fully accepting of the responsibility that is this challenge. And they're saying, what do I need to do to be better, to build the team that I need, to build the infrastructure we need? So again, there's a lot of solutions. It's not just one thing, but if it started with one thing, it starts with whoever's in the looking back in the mirror. Like that's where it begins and ends.
Yeah, I've always been curious. I know it's a collection of solutions, but I did, see your post about in Australia about that automated compactor, and I don't know if that was that whole fleet, or was that just the compactor?
No, that's a company, Blue Light. A friend of mine, Dick, he's been on our podcast. It's an unbelievable technology. Autonomous equipment is part of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever tells you that is the solution, though, has never been on a job site. They're
You got to have people.
Yeah, again, I would just run the other way. I'm like, dude, yeah, autonomous equipment is a solution, is part of the solution. It's not the solution. There isn't the solution. And if there was the solution, again, it's rooted in people, it's rooted in leadership, it's rooted in us as individuals becoming all that we can be, being as good as we can be, admitting where we're wrong, disposing of ideas that no longer serve us, and getting better.
Yeah.
I had a question. You're traveling the world and seeing all these different applications being used. What would you say is a major key component that America's sleeping on? What are we not doing that other places might be doing and or improving efficiency?
I just think like America suffers from ego. We think we're the best.
Yeah,
We're not the best.
for sure.
We're not. I want us to be so bad, man. Desperately, desperately. I want what I was taught my entire life to be true. Every time I travel abroad, though, it's just not true. And it crushes me. It saddens me because we have everything we need to be the best. We should be the best. We're built upon the foundation that was the best, that I still believe is the best. I haven't seen a better system in its purest form, but we're not there right now.
Yeah.
And to think that we're kidding ourselves. It's a joke.
I mean,
So
I got that. That first came to light to me when, I work for a company named Ultimate Homes, on the side as a consultant, and they're, these guys are from Russia, and they have these technologies from all over the world, underground detention systems, and these boiler systems, the way that they heat water, and just the way that they do things. And that's when I realized, like, man, America might have been a pioneer in the way that how much we can build, but the way that these other guys build is just on the next level. The technology that they use, and how much more ahead of the technology game than America is.
I mean,
Like you said, ego. Like ego. I feel like America is like, oh, we don't need to learn because we're just we're America, home of the brave, strong and free, type thing, and it's just like it's eating us up.
they put us in a little box and teach us from a young age. We're the best. Don't worry about it. Don't look anywhere else. Stay here.
again, I'm desperately wanting it to not be true, but the more I travel, and I travel more than most people I know, it's just not the case.
Mm-hmm.
And again, but that's the opportunity. That's why I'm so excited. I'm 30. I've got, best case scenario, I've got 50 years ahead of me to grind on this problem that is defining what the future of America looks like. And I'm going to do my part. I'm going to do my best to ensure that that future is better than the life that we're living right now. There's a lot of room for improvement, and I'm going to do my part. If we all do our part, our odds are pretty good. Our odds are much better than just is what it is,
Yeah.
and that's where a lot of people are. And to me, that's guaranteed destruction. Whereas again, I'm going to do my best for what I think is a better future. Best case scenario, we get a better future. That to me it's a very fair trade.
Yeah, we almost need to be like, industry evangelist for as far as getting people into us. You say let's do our parts. Let's encourage other people to take part in this, and stop everybody from trying to get into the AI game, or whatever else is, hot on the white collar list, and, get back into the building game, because I don't enjoy anything more than watching something be built. Like, I can't imagine sitting in a job, like, for example, a banker, and just hearing about people's stories, and, seeing them buy more and more, building their companies and stuff. I never get to see the growth. But when you're on the job site, you get to see these ponds being dug and this mine being dug, these trucks moving, and man, you see progress, you see production. And, I can't think of anything more motivating than the, visualizing the production.
No, and I, we can talk data centers and AI all day, bits. It all still depends upon atoms. As long as there's human beings on planet Earth, we need atoms. We need food, water, shelter. That's a constant. It is what it is. And even I saw New York yesterday or last week, they said no more data centers. Because why? Not the technology, not the money, not the desire, demand, but water and power. And they're, I think, like the fifth or sixth state that have just said, stop, no more. Like Georgia,
no more
Virginia. Water. Yeah, we can't do this. And so it's like, that's the limiting factor of even technology, power and water.
Yeah.
Power and water. That's it. And that's what this world does. So that's why I've never been more optimistic, but it's going to take some work.
I've been seeing that, actually. There's a project that I was taking part in College Station, and they wanted to build a data center over there. And College Station's like, no, our infrastructure can't support it. And so it turned into a big, baseball facility or something like that. But I've seen that firsthand.
Yeah,
you can only build so much. And then after that, material and stuff, gold, silver, all the things that go into all that, it'll just, it'll make the prices outrageous, and it'll crumble the economies and stuff.
Materials have only gone one direction.
Up.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed the talk. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to talk about, but I think that was a good conversation about the world, the industry that, we both live in. And
yeah, I kind of wanted to bounce back real quick on a question when we were talking about engineers and how they're taught and brought up. And, would it be our job to go teach them and tell them, how to do things differently, and then, is in a sense work ourselves out of a job? If the engineers knew how to do all the stuff and use the technology that we use, what's stopping us from going?
I don't think that's the problem. I think it's the workforce. They know how to do it. They just don't have the personnel that, that have an expertise in it. They all know how to do it. Every engineer knows how to build a model. He knows how to direct how to build the model, but lack of expertise. And then also these guys are, burdened with so much work that they can only do so much. And so you can teach, they know how to do it. We wouldn't be teaching them. It's just, they're not set up to operate on a level that, a consulting firm. That's why consulting firms exist. They specialize in certain things. And so
it could go back to the workforce not wanting to do better. For an example, Jeremy, look what he did. He came in, he found out kind of how we do things, started doing it for the company he was working for, and then we were out of the job.
And now we got the job back.
And then he left, and then we get that company back as a client.
Yeah.
It's these employees at the engineering firms having the lack of interest to want to do better, to use real-time data, to build an accurate machine control model. Like, they might not know it, but in a sense, they might not have the passion.
It could be that, or it could just be the fact that they're so burdened. I think after this conversation that we've had, seeing the workforce issue and just seeing how much of an issue it is, it kind of explains a lot of things. I wasn't aware of how bad the workforce issue is. And so you kind of brought some light on it.
Yeah. And no one's going to deliberately suck. I mean, any decent person is not going to deliberately suck, but that's your opportunity.
That's right.
Like, again, if everybody had this figured out from a workforce standpoint, training and development standpoint, I wouldn't have a business. So I'm not upset about it.
That's what I was thinking before I asked the question. I was like, well, if we train these guys to do this and how to do all that and whatever, we wouldn't have a job no more. But it'll never get to that point. Yeah. That would have been fixed years ago.
Yeah, that always been a little issue, a concern of mine. But now the more and more that I see, I'm not really afraid of nothing, because I don't want to say nothing, but afraid of selling myself out of a job. Just seeing this generation that was able to perform all these, trades and stuff inside this, main trade, which is building, things of sort, excavation, machinery type stuff. They're all dying off. And it's like, that's the last concern we have is losing a job. Now it's like, we're going to be coming into workforce. And that's something that we do kind of experience. It's hard to find modelers. You have to, you have to train them. You have to build them from scratch. They're not taught the stuff in school. So
Sure.
Yeah, I remember probably a year or two ago, me and Luke were talking about competitor this, competitor that. Now we've kind of shifted our mindset. Um, Reaching out to some of these other what some would consider a competitor and team up and kind of work with each other and bounce ideas off each other. And with LinkedIn and all these other
Yeah.
platforms we're expanding to, we don't even look at it anymore as a competitor. If we're worried about losing a job or two or a client or two, then we're doing something wrong. We're getting with these guys and we're finding out what's going on in their regions, what we're doing, what they're doing, and collaborating. And it's worked out very well for us so far. And to kind of bounce off what Luke was mentioning, finding these modelers, sometimes, you have your connections, you reach out, they might have a resource. And so, that competition just filled your role of workforce. So we found that out firsthand.
Yeah.
Pretty recently.
Well, before we get off, man, I want to ask if you got any questions about anything before we close this thing out.
I'm all set, man. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah. Well, appreciate you getting on and appreciate your time and look forward to talking again, maybe another day. Maybe we'll see you going to the Con Expo?
Yep. Yeah, I'll be there.
We'll see you at the Con Expo, Lord willing, and then maybe at Dirt World. Did we sign up for that?
Oh, we're going to. He sent me the link, said they're running out of space, and it's on my list of things, I swear.
Well, we don't want to be that guy that you don't call, so.
Yeah.
No. I'd love for you guys to be there. Yeah, we've sold about 90% tickets, so we're getting through it, man.
Yeah, I noticed that the other day when you were like, "Hey, space is limited." I was like, "Is this one of those sales tactics?" And I was like, "Nah, he shut it."
No, it's the result of 3 years of grinding.
Yeah.
It is a sales tactic, but yeah, we've paid our dues to make it happen.
Yeah, no, that's solid. Have it sold out in a quarter versus having to wait till last minute.
And then
Probably
next
helped one
year,
more, too.
we're selling out in weeks next year. So
Nice.
Well, looking forward to it. We thank you for your time. We know you're real busy, and we're excited to see what you got coming up this year.
yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Have a good
Take
one.
care. See you.